Hello, how are you? I hope you're all keeping well, and I'm sorry for the late podcast, but I've had a nightmare. Sean's away on tour, and we haven't seen each other in 2 weeks. I got my operation last week, thanks for all the get well wishes, and then I went down to the office, recorded the podcast, and I forgot to hit record. So that's why Sean's in our lives. So here we are, and that's why we're in my living room. I suppose for any of you who aren't watching on, who listen to it on Spotify, we're sitting in my living room doing a podcast. But it is what it is, and I'm happy enough. But what I am going to do is, and I'm going to apologise, but I'm going to just double check this is actually recording. 2 seconds. Right, okay. So I think we're acted, hopefully. Me and technology don't go too well. I'm actually a nightmare at it, so it's great to have Sean, but he's away touring the country with his band, the Search Party. So living it up, so fair play to them. And thanks for all the get well wishes last week with my operation. I think some people thought it was a wee bit more than what it actually was, but it was only an ankle operation that I got through a sporting injury, so through hurling. And yeah, the rehab starts. Today was my last day on crutches actually, so I look forward to these stitches going and then getting stuck in the rehab and getting back into that side of my life again, because I've put on fucking over 2 stone or something, so I have to get it off me again, and yeah, but I'm happy enough. I did start back training there a couple of weeks ago, so I'm happy, and it's just about being consistent and building on it, and me taking control, rather than other people forcing it down my neck. And no, I'm looking forward to the new season and stuff next year. I'll miss a good bit of it, but I'm looking forward to all that. But I suppose I haven't done and spoke to you since the first introductory podcast, and it was a wee bit about my story and stuff. So I think it's probably good enough timing for me to jump back on again and give you an update of where I'm at in my life, because we'll have guests on every week, and the guests have been absolutely fantastic. So I suppose you don't really get an insight to what I'm actually doing, and I suppose there is loads of people who watch the podcast probably don't know what the crack is with Let's Face It, and where we're going with it, and what I'm trying to do with it, and what my end goal is. So I'll share that with you today, and just let us know where I'm getting on and stuff like so. But yeah, other than that, everything's going well. I had a great day there in Happy Fest, which is 2 past guests, Kieran May and Kira Daly. It's their company, and they're absolutely brilliant. They were fantastic, and an unbelievable day. They have a course coming up, and they're doing retreats. I think you call the course Pursuit of Happiness. 6-week course. If anyone's struggling or maybe stuck in a rut or maybe has no direction or whatever, may be good for you. So check that out in their page, Happy Fest. But yeah, Sean's away. I had sent over a podcast to him. He's just going to clean it up a bit because I recorded it and I'm useless. So he hopefully will have it out for Tuesday or Wednesday. It's with Domhnall McNally, who was absolutely fantastic. Unbelievable story, by the way. He's a boxing trainer. Most of the boxers have had on, he's had an impact on their careers and stuff. So unbelievable and great insight. So I'm really looking forward to him sharing his journey with you. But you're stuck with me for the next 20 minutes or so. No, but I suppose with getting injured, it's given me a lot of time to focus on what I really want in terms of my life and my career and going forward. And I've made a lot of changes, I suppose, since I started, let's face it. The first 10 episodes, myself and Sean sat down and done a bit of the analytics around it and looked into what was working, what wasn't working, the stats, the figures. More people are listening to it than people watch it. Which is fine, listen, all them things don't really matter to me. But the big stat that stuck out for me was actually 8 people from the first 10 episodes. 8 people went to rehab, which is amazing. Who reached out to me and stuff. So no, it's fantastic, and loads of people are reaching out. But we went and got help and stuff like that. But I'm evolving and stuff like that, and not everything is about the doom and gloom of drink and drugs and flat out every week. It's not, and and that's really refreshing too, because what's before that, we're human beings, and it's good to get successful people in to talk about how they do. You know, we often put these people on pedestals, and at the end of the day, they're human beings, and that's something that I found out a lot, you know, over the last 6 months, that there's no point putting people up on pedestals, because they're just normal people like me and you. So and they love to have a crack and all stuff like that. So no, it's been very refreshing, very rewarding and good. And just going to double check this is still going, because yeah, it is. So and it has been rewarding. It's been the best experience of my life, and I really mean that. Like the last sort of 6 months, in terms of, like, whenever I got out of rehab, I went and worked in a builders merchants in home fit, and which was brilliant, and I got an opportunity. I was probably unemployable at that time, and ended up making my way up. I was a customer accounts manager, looking after, trying to get punters in, you know, pressure, sales, you know, chasing people for sales, stuff like that, but there's always something missing. And then obviously went to Robert Murphy Motors, who RPM Motors, you see that on my Instagram and stuff, and he's Robert was brilliant with me, like, and you know, but there was always just something missing, and he obviously seen that too, like, and we had the chat about it, and I had told him about the idea of Let's Face It, and he was like, just go for it. But I was working part-time with him and doing Let's Face It part-time, and now I'm back working in the rehab centre, which I was in 2019. I think I put it up on the page. So I'm doing that most of the time, like 40 hours a week actually, and then I'm doing Let's Face It as well on top of that, probably about 10 hours or whatever, but it's great. It doesn't even feel like I'm doing 50 or 60 hours a week. It doesn't, it genuinely doesn't. It's you know, whenever you have a purpose and a goal and a dream in life, which I'll talk about in a wee second, it just makes everything, you know, worthwhile. There's a famous saying, get a job you love and never work a day in your life, and it's kind of true. You know, that giving back to people and seeing people doing well, I think it's my purpose in life, and I think that's why I was dealt with the cards that I was dealt with, to then, I suppose, help other people. And I finally found that, and genuinely, even though, like, as I said, I put on 2 stone and stuff like that, but I probably haven't, I don't know, I haven't, that's a fact, actually, being as happy and content as what I am now, like, and that's, it's funny saying that out loud and stuff, because I was always afraid to push down that barrier of actually saying that, but do you know what, I have done a lot of work with myself, on myself internally, in the mind and stuff in the last lot of months since I have been injured, because I know how that can affect you, and it did worry me a wee bit. So it has been great. Like, and being back in the rehab centre it's been class. Like, so now everything's going well, and then, well, let's face it, like, and you know, the podcast were only ever going to do 10, but after I seen what the crack was with the first 10, I was like, do you know what, we need to keep it going, and it's been brilliant. And like, the amount of people walk up to me now and say to me about, you know, you're Domhnall does the podcast or whatever. You know what? It's nice. It is. It really is nice. And it's overwhelming at times too, because you know, I'm sitting here looking at the phone and talking in there, but I just don't know who's watching the end. You know what I mean? And it is. It's refreshing and nice, and it's good to connect with new people. So always, if you do watch, keep sharing it, keep getting it out there, because there is obviously something that takes you here. So do spread the word, and we'll create that ripple effect together, in promoting sort of positivity and showing people that they can have a better quality of life. But I wanted to share with you tonight that, you know, a couple of things actually, but even in terms of Let's Face It and the development of Let's Face It, you know, I'm getting asked to go and do a lot of public speaking now. You probably see, and you know, in the schools and youth clubs and GAA clubs, and you know, it's really it's refreshing and class and good to share my journey with people, and to show people that if they do have problems, to go and speak about them, and that, you know, that there is a way out, and we're not the only ones who are suffering, and you're not the only one that is suffering. There's loads of other people out there, not taking away your problems, but whenever you do say it out loud, you know, it nearly makes it that wee bit easier, because you know, you'll often then, if you're in them circles, then someone will turn around to you and say, do you know what, I'm going through that too, and then there's 2 people going through it, so it's twice as much power within that situation that there was at the start. Do you know what I'm saying? So please just keep talking and keep spreading the word, because it's amazing. It is amazing what's happening here, and and you know, I am proud of how we're going about it, and how I keep saying how I'm going about it. I suppose I have a wee team around me, like that's great. People help me, so and we're doing great things, and it's all very exciting. But something came into my head the other day, and people are asking me to go and share my journey and my story and stuff like that, and I was like, do you know what, it's good in a way, this is what came into my head. Jimmy Carr, I watched his, and I shared this with a group that I was talking at the other day. There's a corporate swim race, and I actually shared this, that you know, Jimmy Carr in his podcast with the Diary of the CEO with Stephen Bartlett, he said it was a wee bit about percentages around his life. Like, don't quote me, but it's something around this, like, and he was like, right, so if I lived in 80, the first 20 years, that's a quarter of my life, so am I going to let the next 3/4 of my life or am I going to let the next 3/4 of my life be dictated by the first quarter of my life? And I was like, wow, you know, am I going to let the first 20 years or the first 22 years or you know, some, you know, things that have happened to me, mistakes that I've made, you know, people that I've hurt, which I've tried to make amends for all of actually, and the things that I've done, am I going to let them things dictate how I'm going to live my life for the next 3/4? And I can't, like, you know, use the thing. And what I've decided to do is turn it into sort of, right, I'm going to use that as a, you know, ammunition to push on for the next part of my life and give back and have that purpose and help people, because I fucking love it. It's great, and it's great to see people lifting their heads and looking around them and saying, wow, like, you know, there's a big world out there, and it's class and it's fascinating, and there's people to meet and there's connections for everybody, and it is so fulfilling. I'm just going to double check this. Yeah, we're still going. And it is so fulfilling, and it's nice. So whenever I shared that there with that group the other day, I was like, you know, like, what have I learned? You know, what knowledge have I gained throughout this process of recovery and doing well and meeting people and going to meetings and growing as a person, I suppose, because I have done a lot of work within myself in the last 6 months. I really have, since I've been injured. I mean, in terms of mentally, not physically. But we'll get there. Started back training, so we're back on the horse again. But I suppose, like, what knowledge have I learned and what sort of have I took on board and put into practice in my own life? Because it's all well and good having this story, these problems, and talking about them. So what are we going to do? What are we going to put into practice? How are we going to progress? How are we going to knock these barriers down? How are we going to be something that I always say, be excited about who we want to become? How can we do that? Because words are words, you know what I mean? And there's a Sister Kazali who says that, like, don't tell me, show me. And so yeah, these are some of the things that I suppose I've learned, and some of them are, you know, you might get something out of one of them, and if you don't, you don't. But I think some of them are very, very important, and I suppose a bit interesting. Like, so what have I learned, and what knowledge have I gained? The first one, that I am on a journey with no destination. I've shared that before. A journey with no destination, and I never will be cured or be perfect. I suppose a whole lot of people from the outside looking in probably see, you know, I'm doing this and doing well, I'm going doing talks and doing these things, and I still have days where I don't want to get out of bed. Like, I still have days where I don't want to face the world, I don't want to speak to people. But it's then days where I go back into the toolbox and put it out and say, you know what, the chimp, go away, you know, because I am worth it. You know, I don't need the validation from other people, because I can validate myself now, I suppose, you know. So, but I'll never be cured or perfect, and none of us will be. We all have bad days, and it's just about developing the tools and talking and meeting people, like-minded people who want to do well, and staying with them, and I think that gets the best out of you. Like, so yeah, the journey with no destination. So the second thing is self-awareness. I've gained, like, I'm very, very self-aware, you know. I really know who I am now and the type of person that I am. I know the type of character I am, so I do not need to pretend to be something or someone else. I know what I'm good at and also know what I'm weak at. And one of the big ones for me, you know, I know what I like and know what I dislike in terms of how I spend my spare time and who that is with. You know, I've turned probably to be very selective about who I spend my spare time with, because as I said, you're probably working 40 or 50 hours a week, like, and it's tough, and the last thing you need to do is spend your time with negative people who are going to drag you back down or whatever, you know, not just like that, just even in terms of friend groups or whatever, you know, are they going in the same direction as you're going. So I've learned that, and very self-aware about that. I have learned the importance and the value of the listening. You know, I sort of spent probably most of my childhood feeling like I wasn't properly listened to. So I know what it kind of feels like, but this is my understanding of this side of listening. Like when someone feels, and my experience, so when someone feels listened to, they feel loved and understood. Their feelings then feel valued and validated, which I feel is the starting point for the solution of whatever problem that was that they came to us with. So just actually listening to someone and showing them that you care and you love them will validate their feelings and they'll feel valued. And that is the first step in recovery, I suppose. Like, and it's, yeah, listening and being attentive to what is happening now in the conversation now. Like there's so many times whenever we're having conversations, like in a coffee shop or with mates or whatever, on the phone or I don't know, and we're talking to them but our head's somewhere else. We're worried about what's happening tonight or where we're going or what's crap, you know, nonsense. So being actually attentive to the person who you're sitting with, talking to them, because they might actually need you, or you might need them. You might need just be in the room and be present with them, and I think that's powerful. You can tell I like listening. Listening means an awful lot of different things. Listening in the sense of the people, you know, who they are. Is it good for me to listen to what they are saying, or is it something that I can put into practice in my own life? Do you know, is someone saying these things to drag me down, to hold me back, or to put up a barrier, or are they actually genuinely interested in doing what's right for me? Do you know what I mean? So I've developed good skills around that, I suppose. I have learned how to love and be loved, and that doesn't necessarily mean a girl or a boy or whatever relationships. It doesn't mean that actually. It means sort of how to love myself, how to be loved by family, letting family help you, you know, letting your friends help you, not putting up barriers to your loved ones, going in and having conversations with them. And this has took me a long time, by the way, to go in and just say, here, this is how I'm feeling, this is what the crack is, and whatever. So it's nice, and it's fulfilling to have them relationships and not have barriers. And even I'll give you an example. Even last week, whenever I was laying on the sofa for a week, like not really being able to move much. You know, my dad coming up and giving me stuff, and I'm trying to give him money and all, and he's going to buy something. You know, just letting people help you, I think is nice. And even my granny and stuff like that, like letting them and you giving that love back, you know, and it's really, really nice, and it's fulfilling. I have learned the ability to make decisions on what I feel is the best to get the best out of me. And that's not like, probably some people turn around and be like, oh, you're selfish or whatever, but it's not, it's really not. It's what is the best thing. Maybe it is, no, maybe it is a bit. You suppose you have to be a bit selfish to get the best out of you, but it's not in a spiteful way or anything like that. It's decisions that I have made throughout the last 3.5 years that have been some very, very, very tough ones, and some people here know what I'm talking about, like, but some very, very tough decisions, and it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows, you know, and obviously you miss some people and stuff like that, but the decisions based on what is the best thing to do for me, like, and you have to stand by that, like, you know, you have to stand by your values, and I've done that, and you know, obviously sitting here and I'm smiling and I'm happy and I'm content, so but obviously you still, the decisions that you make, sometimes you do think about them, but it's the right thing to do. And that leads on to the next bit about, you know, learn to living instead of a head level to a soul level or a heart level or a gut level or whatever what you want to call it there, like. But often whenever I live from my head, and I'm only talking about me, by the way, and some of you may go, here, I'm only a bit like that too, but you know, often whenever I'm living at the head level, it's like madness. You wouldn't want to spend 10 minutes in my head sometimes. But when I listen to my gut, or your heart or something. When I listen to my heart or soul and live at a soul level, I don't often go wrong. Don't, and listen, is this the right thing to do? And I don't often go wrong. So maybe getting out of your head and listening to your gut is a good start to pushing on, like, and breaking them barriers down. And these are three big ones that I never had. And I have a purpose. Do you know what I mean? I have a dream and I have a goal. And that purpose, giving back, showing people that there is a way out, meeting like-minded people and learning every single day. I have a goal, to recover from this injury and become the best version of myself, both on and off the pitch. Like, I know that I've underachieved in terms of hurling and stuff like that, and I had bigger plan. Like, listen, it is what it is. Like, I'm still not doing too bad, like, in the grand scheme of things, whenever you put your whole life in perspective. But to get the best version out of me on the pitch, I suppose I had to get things right off the pitch, and I've got them right, in terms of that consistency and being comfortable, not chasing silly things like sales and work and stuff like that, and doing something that you actually love, and I think that'll help me in good stead going on to doing my rehab of my ankle and stuff like that. So, and the dream, and I suppose that dream is, the part of that dream is me sitting here, doing this podcast. And let's face it, I know it's weird to say it in a way, but let's face it, it's my company. It's my business, which is something that I was way beyond my wildest dreams. And it is, like, providing a weekly podcast, the public speaking, which is going really well in schools and GAA clubs and stuff like that. I was up in Stormont the other day. They were Inspire Wellbeing took over Stormont, and there was a meeting on in the chamber about alcoholism and drug misuse, like make it a public health crisis, and there was a debate, and there was MLAs and stuff there. Not in a working capacity, I don't think, but they were there. And we had a debate with doctors and different things like that, and it was an experience. It was really good, but I had my speech, and it was in and around stigma and stuff, and I went on a spiel about it, and you only get 2 minutes, but I got a standing ovation on the chamber, and it was fucking amazing. It was really, really good. It was something like I've never experienced before. Everyone standing and clapping. I was like, you know what, we're doing alright, and that's from the help of all yous too, because yous have given me the confidence to push on with this thing. You really, really have. You don't understand how much you have, like, and keep sharing and keep spreading the word and keep creating that ripple effect. Because it is going out there, and it's funny, like, I was over at the Cliftonville match last week, and I hope you're watching, lads, and the three lads who made a beeline for me and said to me, your Domhnall does the podcasts, at fucking made my night. It really did. So thanks, lads, for coming over. And even when you're walking about the town and stuff, you get lads saying or whatever. So yeah, keep putting it out there for me. I do really appreciate you sharing and stuff like that, and it is helping people. It is. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. I know firsthand the amount of people that it's helped, and it's very rewarding, and it's class. And it's all part of this dream that I'm talking about, and I'm going to go on to the next part. We actually have our first live event on the 12th of January 2023. First live event, so it feels weird saying that out loud, because it's something I've had in my head for a long time, and I was always afraid to break down the barrier because of maybe what other people thought of me, or maybe am I doing the right thing. But it's happening, 12th of January. I'll talk about that in a wee second. And the other part of the dream is to someday, have my own treatment centre and rehab centre in Belfast, and to show people that there is a way out and they can have a better quality of life. And that, that whenever you have that purpose and that dream and that, then you can visualise it and you can see it, and you're like, working 50 hours a week or whatever, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Because it's worth it. You have an end goal and you have a purpose, and I'm not doing it to suit anybody else's needs, and do you know what I mean? And just fulfilling what I feel is the right thing to do, because I'm living at this soul level, and giving back, and it helps my recovery too. Don't get me wrong, it really does. It helps me and my recovery, but just showing people that they can have a better quality of life is class. Do you know what I mean? It really, really is, in terms of headspace and building relationships and connections and stuff like that. So it's amazing. But yeah, the live event. So it's will be on Thursday. Yes, Thursday the 23rd. Or sorry. Yeah, it's okay. Thursday the 12th of January 2023, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and it's in the Culturland, which is in the Falls Road in West Belfast. Which is a lovely place. It's like it's an Irish museum, and there's a theatre in there. Emil uses theatre in there, and it'll be brilliant. It's a great venue, and they've been very accommodating too. But what we're going to have is we're going to break it up into two halves. And the first half, I'll do a wee bit about me and what the crack is. But let's face it. And then Stephen Floyd, who is a nutritionist, one of the best nutritionists here in the north, he will be coming and giving a workshop on how nutrition impacts our emotional and mental well-being, and what steps we can then take to improve that or enhance that. And he'll be giving you loads of wee nuggets and tokens and stuff on the night, so I'm really looking forward to hearing from him. And then we're going to have a seminar on goal setting and visualization, which is going to be Kieran May, who was on the podcast Natural Resilience, and Kieran is unbelievable. He's brilliant, and I'm so happy to have him coming to this on the 12th. He's going to come in and talk about goal setting, how to set goals, visualization, seeing them goals, and then we're going to do a wee bit of breath work and stuff like that in visualization, and that'll be brilliant. And that will then lead us up into the halftime show, where we're going to have a wee catering company come in, and we're going to get wee snacks, protein balls and stuff like that, and coffees and tea, and we're going to have a yarn for 15 minutes, and then we'll get stuck into the second half, which will be a live podcast with 4 very special guests, and the title of the podcast, What Works For Me, and we'll be alluding to, with Stephen and Kieran, we'll be asking them questions, your questions by the way, throughout, or at the end of whenever they speak. I'm going to put up a poll on my Instagram and Facebook, so you can put in questions for them on that evening as well, which could be fun, and just get a bit out of it, and we'll open up the floor to so if anyone didn't get the writing about their questions. But so then in the second half we're going to have a What Works For Me, 4 very special guests. I'm going to host it, and I'll be better than this week anyway and more organised. The special guests are Conor Maynard, who is a Tyrone senior footballer, unbelievable athlete, won an All-Ireland with Tyrone, still a young lad, very very passionate about well-being within sport, very passionate about women's rights in the GAA, a good fella and a gentleman and a great athlete, and definitely a role model. The next guest is Annette Kelly from Little Penny Thoughts, who has inspired me a lot, by the way, in creating and doing this, and I spoke to her about it, and I'm buzzing to have her, buzzing to have everyone, to be honest, but having Annette Kelly, I know you will be happy to have her on board, and she's going to talk about her wellness, and what maybe her journey and stuff like that, and again I'll put out questions for these guests as well, so we'll be all interacting. The third guest is Michael Conlon, who was on the podcast as well, professional boxer from West Belfast, from the Falls Road, who's on his way to win the world title. Another great guy who's very very passionate about mental health and well-being and stuff like that, so I'm delighted to get a hold of him, and he's coming along as well. And Neil McManus, who is an entrepreneur, one of my very very good friends, who hasn't come on the podcast yet, but he's going to come in the evening too, which he's probably the best entrepreneur of all time at this stage, and he's just recently announced that he's going to play for another year. So the longevity of his career, what he does on a daily basis, unbelievable. He's very very good, and a great speaker, and to have Conor Maynard, Nat Kelly, Mick Conlon and Liam McManus on as guests is, I'm extremely happy and proud about that, and I'm happy to bring that to you. And each person coming to the event will get their own Netspace, a diary / journal, so you'll be able to take notes on the evening of what's happening and what tips they're giving us, and you can take it home and then put it into practice and setting goals and stuff like that. So you'll get that. Tickets are going out on Tuesday or Wednesday, I think, and they're going to be £20. Listen, I try to get the cost as low as possible. That's as low as it could go. They get guests and they make these things happen. They keep the lights on for the rooms and stuff like that. You just listen. It costs a few quid. Like, so it's just tickets are £20. Hopefully that's okay. And what I would say to you is, if any of my obviously you listen to me every week. If you would like tickets reserved, email me, because as soon as they go up, there's limited tickets, and I'm a wee bit worried, in case you don't get a ticket, you know what I mean? So email me at contact@letsfaceit.info, contact@letsfaceit.info. I'll throw it below this anyway, and just saying who you are and you'd like to reserve X amount of tickets or whatever. Tickets are £20. And on that night as well, there'll be a couple of wee stalls and stuff set up. Annette Kelly's actually going to bring her own Little Penny Thoughts stall, so you'll be able to get a Little Penny Thoughts diary, and she or a wee quote book, and whatever, some of the other things she does too. But what they actually have now is their own personalised machines, so you can get their name and stuff on, or if you want to buy a gift or whatever for someone, that will be there too. So yeah, that's happening on the 12th of January, and I'm absolutely buzzing to bring it to West Belfast. And obviously it's not just limited to West Belfast people. Sorry, it's not limited to just West Belfast people. It's for everybody. But there is limited tickets. So as soon as if you're listening to this, obviously, contact at letsfaceit.info, drop me an email, and we'll get you sorted. And yeah, that's the crack with me. Everything's good. Everything's on the up, and I just want to thank you all for your support and continued support so far. It's fantastic, and I hope to God that this thing is recorded, because if it's not, then we're done. We're done for the night. But no, I just want to say I really, really appreciate all your support, and keep the faith and keep going. If there's any problems, if you've any issues or whatever, if it's really, really important, hit that email address as well. If not, go to the DMs on Instagram. I do try my best to get through as much as possible, but it's hard whenever you're working all these hours. But I do get through them, and take it easy and have a good week. And I'll throw a podcast up on Tuesday or Wednesday. So see you soon.